I take my rightful place at the head of the table. Believe that.
And welcome to TMYK Live and the Yeah We Know podcast, part of the More You Know's podcasting network. You're in the ring with Jimmy, Rod, and Chris. And Chris, buddy, welcome to the show, man. I'm surprised you were up for the show tonight.
I mean, I don't know why you guys are giving me such a hard time. You know I'm an old man.
Yeah, Rod, it was funny. We were talking. Chris had gone silent, radio silent for a while on Saturday, and you're like, he's not coming on. There's no way he's asleep. And then you said, hey, it'd be funny if on Sunday he would not come on. And Chris texted us. Chris did text us, hey, I'm main event was great. I can't wait to be on. And then he didn't show up. Chris does not remember he texted us. Is that correct, Rod?
Yeah, he's just living the gimmick, and you know how wrestlers sometimes the line gets blurred between kayfabe and the real person. Chris is just blurring the lines right now. He doesn't know if he's supposed to be sleeping, if he really is sleeping, if he's dreaming. He doesn't know anymore.
Speaking of real people, Rod, we're usually the three. We go for the trios belts here, right? But now, bam, 4 horsemen coming in. Who we got?
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome, coming to the ring, today's special guest commentator. He is the program director for Classic Rock 97.7 ZOW. You can hear him every day on the air, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And he is Rod's boss, so you gentlemen don't embarrass me. His name is Brad King. Brad, hello.
Well, that was quite an intro. Thank you.
Brad, welcome for sure. I always like to get some other input here on the Yeah We Know podcast. For those of you watching live on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, or wherever else, maybe pirating our show, because let's be honest, we are pretty popular. Throw something in the chat if you have any questions or comments. But I've got to go to Chris King first because we don't know anything because, again, he wasn't here. Chris, what was your number one takeaway from WrestleMania?
Sunday was the best day, let's be honest. Sorry about the phone. But yeah, no, you start Sunday off with a banger of a match and then another banger of a match. And I don't care what anybody says about the ending of the main event on Sunday, but like that was still a shift-changing moment for WWE in this era, at least this year.
Of course, Chris talking about John Cena continuing to be heel and Cody Rhodes, who last month killed Kevin Owens multiple times with multiple things, would not stoop to hitting John Cena with the belt. Brad, I think you have a different opinion than Chris does on that ending.
Yeah, that was it was disappointing. Not that it mattered to me if Cody or Cena won. But the way they went about it, I thought was very lame. The whole Cody, should I? I don't know. I don't know what to do. Like you said in the Royal Rumble, I mean, I was there. I know Rod was there as well, in Indy. And yeah, Cody damn near killed Kevin Owens. And all of a sudden, he's got this crisis of conscience against the guy that beat the hell out of him a month ago. So I thought that was lame. Obviously, The Rock not being involved after playing such a pivotal role in Cena's heel turn, and then he's basically never mentioned again for the entire run. I thought that was kind of lame too. For me, the highlight of night 2 was easily the opening match. That the women's triple threat match was fantastic, and that was the highlight of night 2.
So you went a couple different ways there, Brad, and you're giving us some fodder here, which is good. Rod, were you able to hear any of The Rock's interview with Pat McAfee?
No, and I don't think you're surprised by that vis-a-vis my thoughts on Mr. McAfee recently, but because he is omnipresent on Twitter, I certainly saw a few of the things, and because I follow all of the aggregation wrestling sites, I believe I saw the most important quotes, but which one in particular were you wondering if I saw?
I just want to. There was no plan for him ever to be at WrestleMania. The John Cena heel turn was not 20 steps ahead. It was, hey, Cody, you're going to turn heel. No, I'm not. Okay, how about John? Okay, we're going to do that tonight. Your
had
thoughts
to goose
on
those Toronto sales? Had to goose those Toronto house sales? Come
which
on,
they
Jimmy,
didn't have to, by the way. Which, Rod, listen. Chris is conspiracy theory guy here, right? I know that, but I'm just going to ask you a question. It is all not kosher in the Triple H Rock relationship, maybe.
Well, listen, I've always said that if Toronto doesn't sell out, then that is the bellwether for all wrestling. So I'm very, very excited that The Rock decided to come from his sainted perch out there in Hollywood and bless us at Elimination Chamber in Toronto. But he had no plans at showing up for 2-day WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas when he's on the board. He literally can stand to make money off of the more money WWE cashes for the TKO Corporation. And Rock's like, yeah, you know what? WrestleMania 41, I don't think so, guys. And no, Jimmy, I think there's probably egos that bat up against one another. But for me to believe that they literally were like, Cody, you be heel. No. John, you be heel. Come on. No, I don't believe that for a second.
Oh, I think that's exactly what happened. That is exactly what happened. They wanted Cody to turn. Cody did not want to turn. This was reported months and months ago, and everything that was reported by my boy, Dave Meltzer, was right.
Whatever.
That he was never scheduled to be there. Chris, question for you. Rock said, that you should have never expected him there or anything like that. He didn't know Travis Scott was going to be there until his music hit. They literally were selling
that. Sorry to interrupt, but yes, that was the other part that was very lame in the main event. What was Travis Scott doing there?
Well, exactly. Chris, they literally have a shirt that says, finally, The Rock has come back to Vegas, selling in the Superstore. But no, we as fans, we were just reading into stuff, right?
I'm going to answer your question with a question. I know
of course you are,
Jim. How come when somebody like a Paul Heyman goes on a podcast and stays in his Paul Heyman role, his Paul Heyman character, we think it's excellent. We think he's staying true to form. Why do we not expect that from The Rock when he's on Pat McAfee? Of course, he's going to do things like throw shade at Triple H, right? There's got to be some big wig back and forth if they're going to make this long-term corporate side versus non-corporate side thing happen. I think this is just part of a long-term gimmick.
So Chris,
wait a minute. Hold on a second. Wait a minute. No, Jimmy, we can't just let this go by.
I was going to go after him on that.
All right.
Let me go after him on this one, then I'll let you jump in, then we'll get Brad's thoughts as well. But Chris, here's the thing. There is no long-term. This is it. Now, in a year, will they come back and try to figure it out and say, no, this was the plan all along? 100%. But there is no plan here. This is it, right, Rod?
You guys have been on this podcast telling me that some of the things that Triple H seems to do better is some of this long-term storytelling. We have instances where this has been the case. Judgment Day, the Bloodline. Right? So why is this not the case now?
Rod, why would this not be the case?
Wait a minute. Chris, you got a bunch of bales of straw behind that wall there, dude, because you completely just constructed a straw man there for your argument, because Jimmy basically his ethos the entire time we've done this podcast that there's no such thing as long-term storytelling. And I have taken my fair shots at Paul Levesque numerous times. I always say that he just leans on, let me bring somebody back. Here, look. Rusev is back. Isn't that cool? That means I can tell story. No, it doesn't, Triple H. It doesn't mean you can tell story. But Chris, what I would say to you is Paul Heyman is cool when he goes on these because he's always Paul Heyman. The final boss character that you're portraying right now, did some of those answers The Rock gave sound like an all-powerful final boss? Because it sure didn't to me. So he wasn't even in kayfabe. He just was giving bad answers.
Yeah, Brad, so I guess, from your perspective, you didn't like the Travis Scott comment at all. Anything else about that interview that just kind of
like we needed to hear Fiend one more time.
Yeah, I like Rod, I didn't see the entire interview. I've seen the quotes. I think the problem is, when you, in comparison to Heyman, like Rod just said, Heyman is always Heyman. Like Heyman doesn't, really veer in and out of character. And the problem with The Rock is he's been in and out of character. And, from the first night of Netflix to his next appearance, then he's the final boss. McAfee, he wasn't talking or acting like the final boss. He had his Mrs. Doubtfire glasses on. He's talking, very normal, like just Dwayne Johnson, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that and I saw his tweet to Bubba Ray
Dave
Dudley.
LaGreca, yep. Mm-hmm.
And he said, "Oh, it's all work," and I believe that to a certain degree. But I think when it comes to The Rock, The Rock kind of, I think there's a big ego there. We've seen it in action outside of wrestling. We've heard about the problems with DC. And by the way, I'm a fan of The Rock, so I don't want this to come across like I'm jumping on him. But, we've heard about all the problems, with the DC universe and all of that stuff when he was Black Adam. And I think, that's kind of what's going on here is The Rock comes in when he feels like it, shakes things up, and then he leaves again. And then and then the rest of the company, Triple H and everybody else has to, kind of put the pieces in place. And, we saw a little bit of that last year with the documentary. The documentary, if you're watching, it was all Rock's idea. Rock had the idea for everything.
Yeah, it took another 2 months for that documentary to come out after they said it was going to come out the next day. So just remember that too.
Right.
Yeah.
What are you trying to say,
Chris?
Jim?
I'm trying to say that Rock and Roman wanted to do it, and they were going to do it, and they were forced not to do it. That's really what was going to happen.
Of course,
Chris, does that make sense, or are we just are you thinking this is 3D chess that Triple H is playing right now?
You have a guy like The Rock who essentially has FU money, right? He doesn't necessarily need more money to live or survive, or his kids' live and survive.
Sure.
Why would he not be willing to flex his muscles, put this in, do nothing but piss off you professional wrestling fans and make you mad, get you heated? Perfect heel for WWE fans, right? Is he not playing a perfect heel for wrestling fans? You want to talk about ruin wrestling? For you guys, it would be Cena and The Rock being successful in this.
Wow. Chris, I love you, dude. Chris brings...
He's been hosting a wrestling podcast for 3 years, and somehow he paints himself as a rookie and not a wrestling fan every time it suits him. I don't get it.
Every
Why
time.
do you let him get away with this?
Well, because he honestly believes that, and that is who they're playing to. And listen, he's not right, but that's okay. That's what he feels, and that's fine. We Chris and I probably don't agree on a lot of things. I like electricity. He doesn't. Things like that.
It's if I may,
sure.
It's a big swing just to troll internet fans.
Yeah.
If that's what's going on here, I think that's a really, really big swing just to troll internet fans.
All right. So speaking of interviews, our boy Karrion Kross,
let's go.
Interview.
Let's go.
As Killer Kross basically did the pipe bomb segment of, I've been here for 20 years. Everyone wanted me to go against Orton, which I honestly, I didn't see that. But he is getting himself over with the fans. So hopefully, Rod, our guy is going to get going to get what he deserves here and get a nice little push.
If he comes back though with the strap over him, Jimmy, I'm going to be so friggin' angry. We can't go back there. We can't go back. We have to move forward. We have to allow Karrion Kross to do something that people will find cool. And what he is doing right now is like a Svengali pulling the strings, truth teller, right, Chris? That should get your skin all the tingling up there. You talk truth tellers all the time. Karrion Kross is the ultimate truth teller right now.
I would love to see him take the belt off of Jey Uso.
Good Lord.
Okay. Right away. Let's go. All right. Let's just take it off of Uso. Not an Uso fan. Brad, are you a Karrion Kross fan?
Yeah, I'm learning more about him recently. Honestly, my my big introduction to him was probably like a lot of more casual fans was the Jesse Ventura impression, video that went viral, him in the gym. A guy I used to work with is actually good friends with him. So I was familiar with the name because this guy they're both from Vegas. So he would occasionally post internet wrestling stuff from like back in the day. Okay. And would talk about how Karrion is moving up in the ranks and whatnot. But yeah, I'm kind of digging this stuff, but it's interesting to me as, I'm an old school fan, and, it's more of this like really pulling back the curtain stuff, but it's also obviously there's a lot of winking going on because I'm of the, belief that if it's on TV, it's a work. If it's
exactly. Oh yeah. There's no way he would have been fired immediately if he wasn't told to do all that. Right. I know you have a lot of beliefs, but Brad, do you believe in Joe Hendry? Because Chris does not, and we're going to talk to him in a minute about that. But do you believe in Joe Hendry, Brad?
Yeah, you know what? I'm not on that bandwagon yet.
All right, you now? It's okay. Rod, thoughts? No, okay, go ahead.
But I'm not against. I'm still, kind of waiting to see what the hype is all about.
So the 65,000 people at the Royal Rumble that you attended cheering for him coming in didn't do anything for you. I'm not. I know he hasn't done anything on WWE main roster TV except for losing the Royal Rumble and losing 3 minutes to Randy Orton, a Hall of Famer. Amazing, right? So I get that a little bit. Chris, what did you think about that, Chris?
I didn't like. Yeah, right. I didn't like any of it. All right. It was a worthless 3 minutes for the most part.
Whoa! Worthless 3 minutes.
Oh.
What does that do for Joe Hendry? What does that do for Randy Orton?
Everything, Chris. There were 63,000 people in that stadium. Do you think Joe Hendry's ever wrestled in front of 63,000 people before? Only one time, and that was when there was like 18 other dudes in the ring. All right? You got to understand that from his standpoint. He got to come out on the biggest night of the year. OT shows up every couple of weeks and gets his ass kicked on Monday Night Raw, but did he get a match at WrestleMania? No, he did not. Did my guys Pretty Deadly get a match at WrestleMania? No, they did not. But Joe friggin' Hendry did, Chris. And you want to know why he did? Because we all believed. That's why. And Jimmy, if you'd allow me a few more seconds here, I finally landed on something that Chris can put his teeth into here, okay? Chris, you know I hate white meat baby faces. I can't stand them, right? But Joe Hendry has figured out a way to play white meat baby face while winking at it and making fun of it at the same exact time. And that's amazing to me because nobody's ever been able to do it before. You either have to be making fun of all the tropes that white meat baby faces are, and then you're a heel, and Joe Hendry's figured out how to turn it on its head and still be a white meat baby face. I love it.
I will say, and I don't watch TNA, so yeah, that's, my knowledge of Joe Hendry is what I've seen online, and then the Rumble and WrestleMania. And that is the most interesting thing about him so far is that was my thought watching WrestleMania is, man, this guy comes off as a heel. So that's what intrigues me is what is it about him that he's so over as a face? Because he, to me, is playing a heel with the spin around, the smile, all that stuff. In the old days, that he would have been booed out of the building.
Yeah, I think it's also just the gimmick. When you find that gimmick, and when he was a lawyer for Evolution back in the day on Monday Night Raw. Okay, he played a lawyer on Monday Night Raw. He has been in this for so long. He was not even wrestling on any TNA pay-per-views until a little while ago. A year and a half, 2 years ago, whenever it is now. And then he found it. And it's cool. It's just that story of him getting to this point, which was pretty neat. For Joe Hendry, Chris, it's everything to be in front of that, to do what you're supposed to do, to have Triple H, who last time I checked had a lot to do with the booking, say this is not your last WrestleMania. To have CM Punk and John Cena, Bubba Ray Dudley talk to him. That's great. For Randy Orton, it gives him a culmination of months-long blood feud with Kevin Owens that was ripped away from him. It gives him a moment to just have a little bit of fun and sets him up to go now to the big belt, the world champion, the whatever the hell it is now, the WWE Undisputed World Heavyweight Championship.
Which was telegraphed the minute they put it in St. Louis. Don't act like it wasn't.
Oh, no question at all. No question at all. Last interview we need to talk about.
Wait.
Yep, go. Rebuttal. Sorry.
Okay, so you're saying it's good for this guy because he's been a good soldier and put in his dues to the WWE, and that's why they're giving him something on WrestleMania. Well, then I can completely understand why Killer Cross is so upset, because that's what he was told by Brock Lesnar, and that hasn't gotten him anything.
Because
so maybe Karrion Kross needs to be on WrestleMania. Give him a match versus Randy Orton instead of Joe Henry.
He got to come out during the AJ Styles match.
He's developing that character, Chris. If they played Karrion Kross's music, the place would have kind of been like when the Bears got their pick today, and they were like, "Oh, okay, fine." We would have been excited. And last interview, Brad, did you see Bayley's interview that just posted in the past couple days?
Again, same as the others have not had a chance to watch the whole thing. I've seen the big clip that's going around, where she says, "Oh, and by the time this comes out,
just wait," because they were talking about a time, Chris and Rod, where Bayley had to kind of go back a little bit, and how frustrating that was. And she's like, "Well, by the time this comes out, just wait." And the interviewer's like, "Wait, what?" And she's like, just wait. And this was before Bayley got hurt and was replaced by Becky again. And Rod and I talked about this, how Bayley was such a great soldier the entire year. And her knee injury, and Rod, we were on this as well, was a lot worse than we thought. And we had those months of Bayley just kind of doing the best she could, but wasn't Bayley. And now that's kind of come to the light where, it was not good, Rod.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, like those folks that show up and make TV all the time and are putting themselves through this, right? And then we've got other people that have part-time schedules. You know what I mean? It's just like there's so many inequalities and inequities in the game of professional wrestling. So for Chris to try to harp upon anytime one of them comes up just to make his arguments is awful, awful dirty, because there's nothing equal about the business whatsoever.
It isn't. Chris, let's move on here to Monday Night Raw. You are someone who came on this podcast and said Monday Night Raw might have even eclipsed the news of WrestleMania. Obviously, that was a little even hyperbole for you. I understand that. Hyperbole, Chris. Sorry. I don't know what it means. Sorry. Chris, what was your biggest takeaway from Monday Night Raw? I know there's a lot of them.
I really enjoyed the Gunther work, right?
That was a face turn.
What?
Nice, good call, Brad.
Attacking Cole and choking out McAfee, total face turn.
Well, so Chris, what did it for you?
Well, I thought I really did think it was great at the time to make it seem off scripted, not mic'd up, really, right? Like not everything.
Didn't say anything. Like it was dead silent except for crowd reaction for like 8 minutes on Netflix. It was wild.
It was great. It was like I'm watching live TV gone run amok, right? It's like what we look for when we watch Everybody's Live on Wednesdays with John Mulaney. But so like that's what it felt like. It felt that was great. And I also thought that was a great way to keep Gunther strong, or should be able to show strength without having to say anything, without having to do a promo, really, without having to face Jey Uso again.
Mm-hmm.
Like I thought it was really good. I enjoyed that whole segment.
Brad, do you think what Gunther did on Monday took over for what happened at WrestleMania when he tapped out so quickly?
I don't know, because that was probably the other thing about, if I had to list what I didn't like about WrestleMania, and there was a lot of that I did like, but that was probably the other big thing, is I did not like Gunther tapping out to Jey. I figured Jey was going to win. I don't know that attacking announcers immediately puts him back into this untouchable heel level that he was at going into Mania, but it definitely furthers, the Gunther as psychopath thing that they seem to be going for, with the attack on Jimmy and, bathing in Jimmy's blood and all of that stuff. And, now you have him, turning McAfee purple. If they continue on this, that'll get him back his heat pretty quick.
Yeah, McAfee did a good job of almost throwing up about 75, 80 times on the way back. They had the good audio for that one, Rod. Rod, we talked a lot about this and how we're going to make Gunther strong again. Do you think it worked?
I love Brad's joke that, it's a face turn by attacking McAfee, but that's just Brad and I that feel that way. Unfortunately, McAfee is incredibly over. So, yeah, man, the way that you make Gunther even more of a white hot heel is you have him attack McAfee and Cole, right? You don't even give him you don't feed somebody else up to the wolves, right? Because, of course, Gunther's not going to lose again immediately. He's going to start stomping people. So you don't immediately get an Otis or a Tozawa in there that wouldn't matter whatsoever, or one of the guys from LWO who I can't even name, right? You didn't do something like that where they got in there against Gunther. You had him attack McAfee, and McAfee got to get an Emmy reel. I mean, he's got such a huge ego. I'm sure he's going to want to be nominated for an Emmy, and so he got his Emmy reel there, where he had to fake like he was passing out and couldn't talk.
All right, we've taken enough time, Rod. Let's talk about the main event. Let's talk about
what do you think? I got an opinion on that or something?
Rollins and Heyman just laying out CM Punk. The graphics, the end credit graphics come up, and all of us are like, "Oh, okay, I guess it's going to be over." And then, Rod, go ahead. What are your thoughts?
Couldn't have happened to a nicer guy. Really, really sorry for Phil Rogers. He's just a plucky, things never work out for that guy. People don't chant his name incessantly during the time. Whatever. See, he doesn't even deserve to be Phil Brooks. He's Phil Rogers.
He doesn't deserve to have a last name. He doesn't. How dare he?
Not in my eyes. Not in my eyes.
Can I ask real quick, what is the deal with fans that hate CM Punk calling him Phil? Because Rod, you are not the only one. I have friends that are the same way. I have one friend that was a huge CM Punk fan, and then he got pissed when he jumped from AEW, and so now he refers to him as fucking Phil all the time.
Yeah.
What is it about? Like, why do you refuse to call him CM Punk?
Because first, the main reason I do it is because Phil's just stupid. It's a dumb name. Nobody should be named Phil. Apologies to any of our listeners who may be named Phil, but it's certainly not a good name for a wrestler. So that's the main reason I call him that.
I think that's hilarious, Brad. Thank you for bringing that up, because it is funny. Because everyone else, I hate Roman, I hate this guy. I hate Joe.
Right, exactly. I don't know what it is about Punk that.
I think the Braun Breaker aspect of this was just done perfectly, Chris. When that Heyman's going to he got punched, so he might as well get speared. Now, I did have a question, Chris. How's Paul Heyman standing up from a Superman punch that quick? I'm just asking questions.
Finishers don't mean anything anymore.
Well, yeah, if you want to be real, that would be it. But, the story dictates that he needed to get up, right? Maybe Roman's just getting a little bit weaker.
Oh, that's your angle. Okay, I like that. So then Braun Breaker comes in, spears, and then we have the holy trio of Breaker, Heyman, and Rollins. Brad, are you wanting to see some more people added to this group?
Yeah, I think they need to. I think, this is the start of a new dangerous alliance. So, yeah, I thought it immediately. I'm sure I'm not the only one. Becky Lynch, turning heel the same night seems like a logical addition. The Breaker thing surprised me because, man, he is over as a face. And, so that definitely surprised me that they had him turn heel. But, yeah, you're going to need to get, if you're putting together a good stable, you got to get a tag team in there. I don't know who that should be, but yeah, I would like to see a few more guys added, and the new dangerous alliance becomes the new ultra heel stable that's running amok.
Yes,
Rod, are you going to be okay having Seth Rollins be part of the biggest storyline and starting out the new wrestling calendar? Are you going to be okay with that?
I think that he is the man that should be the one that carries it, right? I mean, I think that he is dynamite at cutting promos. I think he's dynamite at wrestling matches with guys who aren't that good and helping to bring them along. I think he's willing to get guys over. He lost 3 times in a row to Cody Rhodes, for goodness sakes. He lost to Drew McIntyre. This guy's willing to go down, right? So now it's his time. And Jimmy, if only somebody on this podcast would have one time mentioned that Paul Heyman and Braun Breaker were getting together back in the locker room area, and that maybe at WrestleMania, Paul Heyman would bring out a new guy, and maybe that guy would be Braun Breaker. If only somebody on this podcast would have said that, Jimmy.
And if only that would have happened like you just said it would have happened. I mean, that would have been fantastic. No, I think that was great. A couple more things from Raw before we head out of here. You had a great women's 3-way matchup to start off WrestleMania, right? And then you had Io Sky and Stephanie Vakir have a terrific match that was just ruined by disqualification at the end for no reason. Chris, I hate that.
Yeah, I will say that match took a little bit of time to gain some steam. It started off pretty iffy, but once they got into the swing of it, I thought they put on a hell of a show. And yeah, I don't know who those people are, right?
I know you don't. I know you've only been a wrestling fan for 4 years. I know.
I only know Io Sky. I don't know these other people from NXT. I don't watch the minors, Jimmy. So I don't know who they are. So it didn't really mean anything to me. I just great. Now I don't get to see the end of this match.
Brad, I love the fact that Chris refers to NXT as the minor leagues as a derogatory statement when it's actually the minor leagues of the WWE. It's like, oh, you're in AAA. Well, yeah, I am. Third baseman. Go Indians. Okay. Uso, Sami Zayn. When is that going to happen?
Jimmy, wait a minute.
Go ahead.
Jimmy, wait a minute. Are we not going to talk about Rhea Ripley here? Are we not going to talk about how we can't figure out anything to do with Rhea Ripley until they had her getting the stare down with one Julia, who they've not really been able to figure out what to do with her down in NXT. But everybody tells me, oh, if only you would have seen her work in New Japan. If only you would have seen her work in New Japan. She's amazing. So, all right, cool. Show me something against Rhea Ripley then, because I need a Rhea Ripley story where Rhea just absolutely annihilates someone and doesn't come across whiny.
Yeah, you've really gone down on Rhea here recently. And again, Chris, we talked a little bit about the long-term storytelling. We need to get Rhea back to where she was like the number one heat list person.
Yes, and since we brought her up and we're talking about long-term storytelling, and I can't believe we've been at this for over 30 minutes and haven't brought up the genius of the WWE, can we talk about Dominic Mysterio?
I was going to close with that, but sure, go ahead.
I know you hate me. I just want to say...
Hey, question for you. When your talent just decides, hey, I'm going to do whatever the hell I want, how do you feel about that? Because I'm telling you how I feel about it.
There's usually a meeting.
Meetings. Can you imagine us having a meeting before this? That'd be hilarious. All right, Chris, go ahead.
I just want to reiterate that
Dominic
I am still.
Mysterio.
I was shocked that they essentially made him do a curtain call after winning that 4-way. He had to come back out, get back into the ring. The crowd was ecstatic. This is a heel character that we all hated for 3 to 4 years, and he was still getting booed so loud he couldn't talk on a microphone a month or two ago. It is phenomenal what he's been able to do.
Rod, talk about the WrestleMania crowd with Chris for the 4th time, I believe.
Yeah, the WrestleMania crowd is the best wrestling crowd of the year, Chris. They appreciate people who show up and put in the work. And so, of course, Dominic Mysterio is going to get cheered because he did exactly what he was supposed to. Like, your thought that, bad guys just have no chance in the WWE. And, oh, isn't it so amazing that somebody likes a bad guy? Ever hear of Stone Cold Steve Austin, dude? That guy was on top of the world for 3.5 years and he was a bad guy. People were supposed to not like him. Sometimes people you're not supposed to like, you like. And I also don't think that Dom was required by WWE to do a curtain call. I think he pulled that one off on his own because of the fans. That was them saying it. It wasn't Dom told by Triple H, hey, get back in the ring. I think Dom was like, oh, geez, these people are going crazy. I better get back in the ring.
I didn't think that he got told that. I thought he went back out there for the fans. That's what I wanted.
No, he got told to do that. He got told to do that.
There is a clip going around of the cameraman telling him to go back.
Yeah, and he was. I'm sure. People in the back said to go back there. I do want to talk about Jey Uso and Sami Zayn. Rod, that yeeting lasted for a good 20 minutes.
I wondered if we were just trying to you know what, tonight is the final yeet. I wonder if in unspoken words, that was the final yeet, right? We got Sammy out here. He hasn't been around for the height of yeet, so he got to come out and do his yeet, and he got to cut a great promo as only Sammy can. But my favorite move of all of that was, of course, the move where Jay's up on the ropes, and we all think that Sammy's going to take him down. And Sammy gave the perfect look no. I know I'm going to take him down, but I'm not going to do it right now. It was like the perfect look, like only Sami Zayn could do.
So, Chris, and this is more of a long-term storytelling, I think, honestly, because, Jey Uso is the one person that always didn't like Sami Zayn, never trusted Sami Zayn, and finally accepted him, and he's going to be right all along. So I think that's going to have it for you there. So before we leave, hey, by the way, Rusev is back. Very happy for that. I know Rod doesn't really care, but hey, it's always good to see someone back.
Because you don't care. Why didn't you just say that Lana's back? You don't even care that Rusev's back. You're just excited that Lana's back, so you should have just led with that.
I don't know if Lana's back because she is on a Legends contract, so who knows? We'll see. Brad, any Rusev thoughts before we leave?
No.
Thank you. No. Got a future in this business, kid. No, just joking.
No, I know, Rusev was big during my lapse, during my lapse time. So, and seeing him come back, because I was seeing all this online. A lot of people were hoping Rusev was going to be Orton's surprise opponent. So I saw him come out, and I was like, oh, okay. So he's just like a big, angry, muscle Russian dude. Okay.
Yes, and he was big because of Lana, his Russian manager. He actually came out in a tank in WrestleMania to face John Cena for the United States Championship, and then of course John Cena won. Chris, how was the end of your WrestleMania weekend here? Everything good for you?
Yeah, listen, that was an exciting, action-packed filled 11 hours of wrestling we got this week. Nope, I'm going to say 13 hours because I forgot about SmackDown. So we have to enjoy these weekends when we get them because it was phenomenal.
And AJ Styles also lost, so there we go. Good job.
Jimmy Jam, let me ask you a question. Nobody's been able to ask you a question for this podcast on the way out. When do we next see the champ? Is he going to continue to show up every Raw, every SmackDown until Backlash, or are we just not going to see him till Backlash?
No, he will show up. There's 3 weeks. He'll show up 2 more times before Backlash. I think we'll get that in there. Randy Orton will do a promo on him. Actually, he'll probably be there on SmackDown this week, and then next week we won't see him. So we'll see. If you're the champ, you can't be at every show. You can't do it. It's impossible.
Unless your name is Seth Rollins, and that's how you get to be the top of the card.
Who? And with that, we really want to thank Brad for joining us. I really appreciate you coming on, Brad. Welcome back anytime. Chris, thank you for joining us on your comeback. Really appreciate that as well. We have 2 shows up on all of our podcasts and video channels, our night 1 and night 2 reviews, and stay tuned for the Fast Break coming up. But you have been listening to the Yeah We Know podcast, part of the More You Know's podcasting network. You're in the ring with Jimmy, Chris, Brad, and Rod.
Hey, listen, LA Knight, you don't need a belt. You're still incredibly over.
Yeah. Goodbye, Nick. Yeah.
Welcome to the Fast Break, the fastest 15 minutes in the NBA. Okay, dude, we got WrestleMania weekend. We had the NFL draft. We've got NBA playoff games. There are so much going on. We've got Father Pete Rod is going to join us here in a little while. That's exciting as well to talk some Pistons Knicks.
He is fired up, Jimmy. He is way fired up by the graces of the time machine that is podcast. We have already spoken to Father Pete. And if you are a listener from New York, man, Father Pete has some spice for you.
The Knicks barely hold on, 118-116 in Detroit. I heard you couldn't hear the whistles blowing in Detroit tonight. Knicks are up 2-1, but Chris, if you're a Knicks fan, are you nervous right now?
Yeah. We've already seen the Pistons shut down Cat for a half at a time where he doesn't able to do anything. And sometimes that's the best offensive threat they got. I know you got Brunson, but sometimes it's Cat. And if you can shut that person down for a half, you are in trouble.
You are definitely in trouble there, Rod. They're going to win, right? The Knicks are going to win this series.
I'm not entirely sure about that, because if you think about it, if we didn't have the tremendous fourth quarter comeback, which was clearly the Pistons like, oh my God, we're in Madison Square Garden, this is the playoffs, the lights are awfully bright here, the Knicks would only be 1-2 now instead of them up 2-1. So I don't know. I think the Pistons are still in this. I think we're going to be 2-2 going back to New York, and the Pistons already showed they could play there. I wouldn't count them out just yet. I think probably, but I wouldn't count the Pistons out just yet.
You wouldn't count the Pistons out just yet. Speaking of out, Jimmy Butler went down hard. Not good for the Warriors if they don't have playoff Jimmy, Rod.
Definitely not. You're going to get entirely too much Quentin Post, and that's not really good for anybody. You're going to get Jonathan Kuminga dusted off, and Steve Kerr has already decided that Kuminga is not somebody that should be playing in these games. You're going to get entirely too much Buddy Hield. That's not really good for anybody. That's why he's been on 5 different teams in the NBA. So the Warriors get awfully, awfully thin if Jimmy Butler's not there. And the other thing about Jimmy is that he has such a high IQ. He plays off of Steph and lightens that load a little bit, right? Steph has to be 45-point Steph. He has to run 6 to 7, 8 more pick and rolls when Jimmy's not around. And that's not going to be sustainable either, because even if they do happen to get by the Rockets, guess who they're going to draw? Somebody from either Minnesota or Los Angeles. And that'll be a rather tough series as well. So I don't like their chances right now.
Chris?
Yeah, they're done if they don't have Jimmy. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty tough. A lot of injuries, including, Rod, how nervous are you about your boy Jason Tatum? Is he just taken off the first round because Orlando is Orlando? Rod is so excited he muted himself.
Yes, I'm not worried at all about Jason Tatum. He should not play in the first game down in Orlando. He should actually just not play the rest of this series. The Orlando Magic cannot score enough buckets to beat the Celtics. They could play a game of horse. They could play a game of 21. They could play half-court basketball. They could play out at the park. The Orlando Magic do not have enough guys on their team that can put the ball through the hole to beat the Celtics under any circumstances. So Porzingis, he might be bleeding all over himself, but he's still going to get 20 points and double-digit rebounds and be a rim protector. Drew Holiday, who has reanimated himself in the playoffs like he always does. And let's not forget, Jaylen Brown, while might not be my favorite, was Eastern Conference Finals and NBA Finals MVP last year, so he's clearly a playoff performer as well. I'm not worried at all about Tatum right now. Now, if he's still injured for the start of whoever they get in the second round, come back to me. But right now, I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, I think I agree that it just might as well just hold them out. They can take Orlando out. They're not gonna lose. They do need to sweep them though, because they want to have a nice little breathing room in between this series and the next series. Chris, I know you're chomping at the bit right now. Mine, and our Indiana Pacers are up 2-0 at the Bucks. They're going to sweep them, aren't they?
I still think Milwaukee could probably win one at home. We'll call it, so that would be what, a gentleman's sweep or whatever.
Okay.
But it's been proven that the Bucks can't keep up with them. The Bucks don't have enough firepower. They don't have enough depth on their bench. I don't see them keeping up with the Pacers.
Jimmy, the Pacers aren't just fast. The thing they don't get credit for enough is they play good offense. They figure out the matchups they want to exploit. They move the basketball. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just they run up and down the floor and beat the Bucks. And the Bucks are absolutely terrible. They can't zone. They can't switch. You know what I mean? Brook Lopez playing drop coverage is not helpful to them at all because Miles Turner can pop out and shoot threes. So, like, the Pacers just have them any way that they want it. And so I'm with you, Jimmy. I think this is going to be a sweep. I think there is going to be sweeping changes in Milwaukee, and I think we're about to have another summer where Giannis is never going to come out and actually say something but he's not going to stop anybody from doing a whole lot of flirting around and radical speculation. So I think things are not good up in Cream City.
I agree. And then we also have to remember the roster construction the Pacers have is just terrific. They have so many players they can put in and really contribute to wins. I mean, you have Jarris Walker, who's like their 10th man, 11th man right now. Former first-round pick. He's not the greatest ever, but that shows how deep they are, and they can't bring all these people in, so the Pacers are doing very well. I would talk about Oklahoma City and Memphis, but, there's no way Memphis could even come close. Oh, Memphis is up by 10. Interesting. Okay. This is going to be a quick one. I think Memphis is going to slide down here, and Oklahoma City is going to win there. We don't need to really hit on that very much, but
that bums
Denver
me
and
out,
LA.
Jimmy, I gotta say, that's what bums me out as a Celtics fan, right? I hope my Celtics get to the finals. I'd like to see Oklahoma City have a bit more of a weight on them, and they're going to have about as easy a first-round series as possible, it seems.
But the second-round series, I believe they do have to play the winner of Denver-LA, right?
Yeah, but see, that even has me worried because Denver-LA is going to be a war. Whoever wins, that's probably going to have to win it in 6 or 7 games, and they're going to be beat all to hell for doing it.
Yeah, and Chris, do you think that everyone on both sides is going to come out healthy? Because there's a lot of injuries on both those sides.
I don't know. What I will say, because I've tried to watch as much of these games as I can, even though West Coast and I'm old, so it's hard for me to do that. It's amazing, even with Denver's coaching change that they've had, I have still seen both teams get burned, react defensively, make the other team do changes. So, it's really, I see it almost more of a coaching battle in this series right now because you got all the talent in the world with Kawhi on the Clippers and Jokic on the Nuggets, and they're going to do what they do. We saw Jokic go crazy game 1, Leonard game 2, and it's those back and forth and how they defend the other team and make the other team change. That's what's going to decide that. I don't know who to pick right now.
Yeah, I just think LA's got Jokic can only do so much, and I think Kawhi's just on another level right now, Rod.
He's that guy, right? We all basically gave up on him because he hasn't played for so long, and you kind of figure if a guy's that nicked up and injured and Father Time is undefeated, you know what I mean? You kind of think you're not going to get Kawhi back. And sure, his jump shot might not be as high as it used to, and he's probably not as quick on his first step as he used to be, but he still gets to everywhere he wants to. And he's shooting 63% from the field. That's insane. The guy missed 4 shots in game number 2. I mean, he is that guy, right? He's unassuming, so we forget about him, and he sits in street clothes an awful lot, so we assume that he doesn't have it in him. But if maybe he does have that knee together enough to be able to play through this playoffs, remember what he did when he played a full healthy series with the Raptors, Jimmy? They didn't have much of a team around him there, and the Clippers have way better talent than that Raptors team did and a way better coaching staff. Chris, I like what you said about coaching, but I think if that is true, the Clippers are going to come out on top. We're talking about Brian Shaw, Jeff Van Gundy, Ty Lue, all 3 of those guys on the LA Clippers staff. Those 3 pretty good coaches.
Yeah, they are definitely very good coaches here. I'm going to skip over Cleveland, Miami real quick. I thought Miami would put up a little bit more of a fight, but shout out to Evan Mobley, Defensive Player of the Year. Congratulations, Evan Mobley. I'm so
Cowboy Derek, just to answer your question, Evan Mobley's defensive metrics are pretty good. He just won Defensive Player of the Year. One of the more random questions asked by Derek one time in our group thread. How good do you guys think Mobley's defensive ratings are? Pretty good, man. He just won Defensive Player of the Year. But let's all be real. Good thing he got this one because I think 4 out of the next 5 out of the next 6 are probably going to a dude down in San Antonio.
Yeah, De'Aaron Fox is a really good defensive point guard there. We have finally the Lakers and the T-Wolves. I know we're just kind of doing round robin here on all these matchups. Next week we'll hit a little bit more because we'll kind of figure out where the series are going. But I'm intrigued to see which Ant Edwards shows up in Game 3 because we had a solid performance in Game 1, if not unspectacular. Game 2 just really wasn't at all, and the T-Wolves kind of go where Ant Edwards goes. Also, I love the fact that Luka hates Gobert so much, and he goes after him all the time, and it's really fun, Rod.
Yeah, it's almost to the Lakers' detriment a little bit, right? Like, if I'm the Wolves, I say, okay, fine, you want to keep hunting out Rudy Gobert, you do that, because I think as long as we play a little bit more like we did in game 1 and a little bit less like we did in game 2, which frankly is probably their mean. They were something like 21-4 in their last 25 or something like that. Absolutely insane. They have a top 10 net rating over the season. They were like number 1 or 2 in offense down the stretch. They were number 1 or 2 in defense down the stretch. So if you think about Minnesota as the team that was lackluster at the beginning of the year, you're not giving them justice, because let's not forget that Karl-Anthony Towns trade happened right before the season. So they had new guys come in. They had to figure out how to play on the fly. And by the end of the year, I can't believe I'm doing it, Julius Randle even figured out how to move the ball. So if the Lakers want to keep just picking at Rudy Gobert with Luka doing all heliocentric offense, I don't like their chances.
Chris,
I can't bet against Luka and LeBron. I'm sorry.
okay,
I just can't right now, because we don't know which ant, like Rod said. Are we counting on Julius Randle? You guys say no, so I'm not going to bet against Luka and LeBron. Not in this round.
Probably a good thought there. Hey, Rod, if I told you the Grizzlies were up 54-37 over the Thunder, who would you think has the most points for the Grizzlies?
Sam Huff.
Okay, well, you're right. No, Scottie Pippen Jr., 4 of 4 from 3-point land, 14 points leading the Grizzlies. Up 17 right now over the Thunder. It's going to be interesting to see how that game goes. I can't wait to talk about that next week at the end there.
Of course, he gets 17 now. He couldn't have gotten this 17 when I needed him in the fantasy playoffs. Thanks, Scottie Pippen Jr.
I really want to end it right there, but we may. Chris, anything else to chat about before we head out?
Let's end it.
Rod?
Congratulations to Dax. If we're going to end on fantasy basketball, we should say congratulations to Dax, the man who actually won the league.
Yes, good job. And with that, you've been listening to the NBA Fast Break on the More You Knows Podcasting Network. You are in the arena with Jim, Chris, and Rod.
That's right. Stay tuned for the Father Pete interview. I'm telling you, he is on fire. You see why he's a Hall of Famer. All right, we are back. And as Jimmy said, we got a special NBA treat for you. One of our favorites, the first member inducted into the Morgan You Know Podcasting Hall of Fame, our guy, Father Pete. And Father Pete, I got a quick story. We all have mentioned before that you were technically Kate's boss at one point, and I have to describe how great of a boss you were because we're actually on an anniversary date. This date, 9 years ago, Father Pete was such a good boss that he let Kate go home for the afternoon because she was affected by Prince's death. Father Pete, Kate told me to remind you of that story.
That's awesome. Yeah, hey, listen, I'm a big music guy, so I know the impact that someone's as impactful as Prince's death could have on someone. So I was like, hey, man, I totally get it. And Kate is so amazing at what she does. A half a day away for Kate, she'll come back, and she'll more than account for all that work that might have been missed on that particular day.
She told me to remind you of that. And see, Jimmy, not only is he great with his NBA takes, but he's a great boss to have. We all knew that's why Father Pete was a Hall of Famer, right?
Of course, Father Pete is amazing in every way, especially on his takes on his favorite team and favorite players, Rod.
That's right. Father Pete, last game of the year for the Milwaukee Bucks. Your guy, Pat Connaughton, put up 43. Your thoughts?
Oh, listen, it couldn't come to a better guy. I mean, Pat is hardworking. He is selfless. This is something that he came to Notre Dame with that disposition. And it's so fun to see how, if anything, he's just matured and gotten wiser as he's gone. And for him to have the success that he's had in the league when really no one thought that he would have that kind of career. And all of a sudden now, I mean, is he at 10 years? Do we know? Is he a 10 plus year vet at this point?
I mean, he's got to be close, I would think. It feels like, right? Because I know, I remember numerous Pat Connaughton cycles of contracts, right? He was coming up for this re-signing, and then he did another re-signing. So Jimmy's on that right now. But you know what, Father Pete? How about this? Pat Connaughton is going to join a list that includes Giannis Antetokounmpo and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as Milwaukee Bucks that got 40, 10, and 5 in a game. How about that?
That is nuts. That is nuts.
Your guy Pat is going to be on a list with those two. And he's a 10-year vet. So that, there's not many guys that could say they played in the NBA for 10 years at all. So
this is the thing, man. 10 years. And then the other thing is, do the research on this. And he's already starting to think about his business, efforts and endeavors after his NBA career and real estate and development and the whole bit. Like, this guy's the total package. And so I think we'll be talking about Pat Connaughton, for many years to come in terms of the great work that he does because of his demeanor. And I think the way he treats people and the way he makes people feel. So all love to Pat Connaughton. I'm happy for any success he gets.
All right, Father Pete, I gotta take off of that love for Pat Connaughton because he's a domer, as we all know, and we're gonna turn it to the Pistons this way. Are you a little bit conflicted because your guy, Monty Williams, was unceremoniously gotten rid of and the Pistons are seeing the success? And unfortunately, too many people are mentioning him in a bad light that I hear and how he has had such a great turnaround for the Pistons. So does that conflict you in any way, Father Pete? I got to ask.
No, but I do think it's probably a point of reflection on whether or not Monty Williams should have taken the job. I mean, he was very public about the fact that he took the job because the payday was just so great. And I wonder if his heart just wasn't in it. And I think that this is where Tom Gores and the management team probably should have thought a little bit more before they tried to recruit someone by just giving him a big payday. I think Monty Williams is going to be a great coach in the future. He's certainly been a great coach in the past, but I think the Pistons in this case got sadly a great guy at the wrong time, and that's a bummer.
See, Jimmy, he's such a Pistons fan that he's always looking out for the team. That's why we got him on now to have Pistons takes for us.
He did a great job of not demeaning either one of them. So excellent job. You maybe should do that for a living or something like that. Talk to people. I'm just throwing that out there.
Monty Williams is just a class act, but I do need to tell you guys a little story about the Detroit Pistons before we get too far into it. Sure. You wouldn't be able to know to ask this question. I actually have to buy a buddy a steak, lunch, or dinner. It's likely going to be a lunch this coming Friday. And the reason is at the beginning of the season, he and I took a bet. And I was like, there's no way this year in JB Bickerstaff's first year that they make the playoffs. I said, there's no way the Stones make the playoffs. So this buddy of mine who's a priest, he's like, okay, fine. You owe me a steak meal if the Pistons make the playoffs. And so I was strangely all season long, and that's why I'm stoked about having to pay up on this thing and being done with it. I was strangely rooting against the Pistons to make the playoffs. And I'm doing this as a public confession right now because it has torn me up inside. And it was not because I didn't believe in the Stones. I just didn't think that they'd go from what they were last year to what they are this year. I didn't see that as humanly possible. So tip of the cap to JB Bickerstaff and the players and management, because they really have made it happen, and admittedly to my expense.
That is such good stuff there. Yeah, the biggest turnaround in NBA team history, man. That's JB Bickerstaff, who I like. I'm happy for him in some way. I don't know JB Bickerstaff in any way, shape, or form, right? But he's sort of getting the treatment that Monty Williams is getting now, right? Like, it's easy to kick the guy who's out the door and make all the problems from last year be him. The Cavs did that to him, but he gets to say back, no, wait a minute. This other team welcomed me with open arms, and look at what I've done with them. So clearly it wasn't that I was a bad coach. So I'm happy for JB Bickerstaff in that standpoint.
Right on. Right on. And sometimes we've all been there. You just need a change of scenery. Sometimes Absolutely. You just need like a new look and a new feel and different people to kind of share your wisdom with, and it unlocks something.
Jimmy, listen, another transition came to me, so forgive me while I do one more question. But you're talking about change of scenery. We got a lot of guys on this Pistons team that's succeeding this year that maybe weren't well thought of in other stops and have been journeymen and showed up here. I'm thinking of Malik Beasley. I'm thinking of Tim Hardaway Jr. I'm thinking of Tobias Harris. These guys were sometimes denigrated in their last stops, and somehow for your Pistons, they're coming through. What's the season been like for you?
Oh, it's fun because at first I'm like, I literally said, if we get 20 wins, I'm over the moon. And then we hit 20, and then we continue to cruise right on past it. So what I think is awesome, and what I just want to commend anyone running the Pistons about is like they've brought guys together, some of which need to be alphas, so think about a Cade Cunningham. But then you bring a Tobias Harris who, he's been around the league. He doesn't have anything to prove. He's made his money. He's got his bags, as they say. And so now he's able just to kind of get in there and contribute without an ego. And you need that. You need to be able to have that blend of, like, Tobias Harris had been a part of a winning organization in the Sixers. He knows what that's like. And he's going to be able to bring that into the locker room. He's going to be able to talk to Cade Cunningham. And all of the kind of young up and coming guys about how they take care of their bodies, how they take care of their mindset. So to me, I think is as important as talent is, so is the way that they all are meshed together. And I think that they did both really, really well. Now, I want to point out they're a 6 seed. They did not win the East. So there's a rather large delta between 6 and 1, and they got a ways to go. So I don't want to kind of praise them too much because there's a ways to go here. We're not talking about 2004, 2005, 2006 when the Stones were just rolling. But at the same time, like, huge jump from last year to this year, and I'm excited to see what the next couple of years will bring about.
I love that you call them Stones. That's fantastic. I think it's it's really apropos, especially the series they're in now with the Knicks. By the time people listen to this, they could be down 3-0.
I know.
Yeah. What are your realistic expectations for this series? You want to win? You want one win? You think sweep is still fine? They're learning. What are your realistic expectations besides winning, of course?
Okay, the ideal in my mind is I'd love to see us get 2 wins. I think if you get 2 wins, you got the chance to meaningfully reflect upon kind of what playoff basketball looks like. I mean, look, Oklahoma City Thunder last year had the same experience. That they did great in the regular season, and then they were shown the door rather quickly. And so I think the Pistons are probably going to have some kind of experience like that. So if they can get 1, maybe 2 wins against a good but not great Knicks team, like everyone's slurping the Knicks because they had 2 50-win seasons, and that's fine. But I'm sorry.
Look sorry. At you.
You know,
you got one good season. One good season in the decade, Father Pete. You're like, it's 50 wins, nothing. It's fine.
But like, hey man, listen. It's like, I think this is where, like, if I could be off to the side and just kind of critique, the league wants a strong East Coast and they want a strong West Coast. And New York is a massive media market. They need to do well in that market. And certainly the NFL with the Giants and the Jets, like it's a market ripe for the picking. So maybe the Knicks can be New York's team. Who knows? But right now, St. John's is probably New York's team. And
the Jets and the Giants caught shade right there. That's how much smoke Father Pete's throwing. Wow. The Jets and the Giants caught shade right there. The entire state of New York almost caught shade.
Who knew Father Pete was anti-New York? Wow.
I'm not. I'm just saying, man. Like, everyone's all excited because they won 2 50-game seasons. I'm like, whatever, man. I think at best, New York makes it to the next round, and then they are shown the door.
Well, I'm a Celtics guy, so I certainly don't think the Knicks are coming out of the East. I'm looking for my Celtics to be there. We love the hometown Pacers, right? We think that they're going to probably surprise some people. We like that.
Yes.
But here's the other question. Here's what I want to chime in on that if I could. I love that you said you're going to learn from this playoff loss. What I think they actually got was a micro lesson cooked up in one game. You're in the biggest home court. Yeah, exactly. The fourth quarter in Madison Square Garden. Home court advantage almost doesn't exist anymore because of how we've sold out the entire court side to the rich folks who aren't going to cheer, right? The players are moved even farther off. We got fans further back up. So these players are playing in a homogenized environment. It almost doesn't matter, these roads or anything, but not Madison Square Garden. Not Madison Square Garden. They walk down the walls. They see all the things that have happened. They know about what Kobe did there. They know about what Michael did there. And the Knicks fans in the playoffs are crazy. That place was lit on fire in the fourth quarter of that game. And I think that bodes well for the Pistons to learn a lesson rather quickly and come back absolutely fighting. And I used the key word there, Father Pete, fighting. Do you like these guys kind of like the bad boy Pistons where Beef Stew and Ron Holland are going to get into you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that that's how they're built. I think that this team in a particular way doesn't have the DNA of the kind of bad boy Pistons or even that kind of going to work Pistons in 04-05. This team probably has a different way of kind of being about itself, which is cool. And I think it's really fun. So I'm really excited to see what that's going to happen. And I'd be willing to bet that they're trying to figure out what their identity is. Let's talk, a year from now and to see what has begun to solidify under Cade Cunningham's leadership. What we need most, in my estimation, is for Cade Cunningham to stay healthy. He needs to have a season that he can be meaningfully healthy. And I think this year he had some calf issues and so on and so forth. But I'd love to be able to see him go and pull, a CP3 situation where he starts all 82. If old man Chris Paul, who's 41, 42 years old, is able to start all 82, I'd love to see Cade Cunningham at 23, 24 be able to do that. And I think if he can do that, he can establish something pretty great.
He has to rest, though, Father Pete. That's 82 games. He can't play 82 games.
But old Chris Paul did. And now he didn't make the playoffs, but
yeah, that could be a couple things there for that. So I have a feeling the answer is not going to be the Pistons with this because you're a man of integrity and won't just pick someone. But who do you think's coming out of the East? Who do you think's coming out of the West? And who is going to win the NBA championship this year?
Okay, so I think the East, it's the Boston Celtics, and I'm not just playing to the home crowd here.
You are, but that's okay.
I don't know how you deal with the dual threat of Brown and Tatum. I don't. And then if Porzingis is healthy, you got the unicorn running up and down the court. I don't know. I think that's a tough
little
situation.
Dropping of Peyton Pritchard, a little bit of Derek White, a little bit of Drew Holiday. Yep. I mean, the Celtics got it all. It's just it's a great meal. You know what I mean? It reminds you of Thanksgiving dinner. You're sitting down at a full table that has every little thing that you might want. Oh, I'm sorry. I kind of hijacked this to the Celtics, didn't I?
Now, here's the thing.
You had to, didn't you?
I do believe though Oklahoma City's coming out of the West, and I do believe that Oklahoma City's winning the whole thing.
Wow. Okay.
I just think that they have Sam Presti is the general manager's general manager. He's been doing it at a really high level. Let us not forget that he's the same one who drafted James Harden and the gang back in the day. And so this is a guy who knows what he's doing, and I think he's built a team to win. And so as much as I would love to see the Celtics go back to back, I don't think it's in the cards. I think it's Oklahoma City.
All right, well, let me drill down on that a little bit then. Let me hope for somebody to take down the mighty Oklahoma City Thunder, who you railed against New York. I would say that Oklahoma City has been handled an awful lot this year without proving much. But who's going to give them the most competition out in the West, do you think? Because it does seem wide open behind them.
Yeah, this is tricky because I don't know who naturally is going to work their way onto OKC.
Well, they're going to get either Denver. They're going to get Denver or LAC. One of those two in the second round. That's who they're getting in the second round.
I'll tell you what. The thing to be careful of is the Clippers. If Kawhi Leonard is healthy, legitimately healthy, and he's not playing like the bag of bones that he's been playing for the past couple of years, but is old school Kawhi Leonard, like Toronto Raptors Kawhi Leonard. Look out, boys and girls. He is a tough out. And then James Harden's still hungry, looking to make a point. So I don't know. I mean, if OKC runs into the Clippers, I think that series goes 6-7. I really do.
I agree.
The other thing, just a little bit of intrigue is that this is the, if that happens, this is SGA's chance to kind of remind the Clippers that they traded him for a guy who's no longer on their roster.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Good old Paul George. So.
PG. Well, obviously they made the right decision because Paul George's team is not in the playoffs. So,
but could you imagine unloading SGA, who's the presumptive MVP, for a guy who pretty much has just been a rental on every team that he goes to, and then he gets injured and then doesn't even play? How many games did he play this season alone? What's
he
the
did
overall?
Sacrifice the podcast this year, though. You got to give him credit for that.
He did
say, "Listen, I'm going to sit down on podcast."
We're not going to get the chance to see playoff P, though. No playoff P this season.
Definitely not. Jimmy, I think we'd be banned as any kind of a basketball podcast if we didn't at least ask Father Pete something about the Lakers. So cook up something about the Lakers for him on the way out so we don't get in trouble.
Do you like the Lake now? Did you have anything to do with getting Luka to the Lakers? Did someone call you? Was there a discussion? Did this go above you? What really? I mean, something. We need an answer. And I come to you for answers.
So Nico slid into my DMs and he said, "Hey, I've got a."
You apparently hate the Mavericks.
Yeah, and he said, and I just didn't get back to him, and then he made a really interesting decision. So I regret that. I wasn't checking my DMs as closely as I should have been. Can I just take a minute and defend Nico, because I don't think many people are, and I'd like to take the unpopular position of defending him. So I get it that Luka is a generational talent, but he's also a generational talent who is prone to not exercising and doesn't like to play defense. So I tend to agree that when Anthony Davis isn't going full street clothes, he actually can be an elite defender, and he'll give you 15 to 20. So to me, if AD can get something going over the course of the next 2 to 3 years, and then you got Gafford, and you got, what's that other dude, the third?
Lively.
Big fella.
Derek
Lively the
Derek
third,
Lively,
right?
yeah.
Like if those three kind of a three-headed monster, then you get Kyrie back into this mix. I don't know. I think there's something really interesting. So the only beef I have with the trade is that Nico should have shopped this in the open market. This whole kind of backroom deal that he did with LA doesn't check out and doesn't hold water. Like it still kind of smells. And I wonder like exactly how that all came about, but whatever, to each their own.
So you told Nico to go ahead and trade him.
Well, I never got back to him because I didn't see. He just kind of slid into my DMs, and I just didn't know.
So you would have had him shop. I'm trying to save you. I'm trying to save you right now.
How about this?
Yeah.
I got one follow up for you, Father Pete. Let's say that I follow you down this road, right? And I will say that Bob Myers, okay, respected NBA former GM, and Brian Windhorst both have made a case similar to what you're saying. But I will take it one step further and say, okay, even if you want to keep it quiet and you've negotiated this thing, even if you want to do that, you hold the Lakers up for Austin Reeves and another draft pick. You just do it,
No
right?
question.
What are they going to do? Are they going to walk away from the table? Certainly not.
100%. Like that part, I don't know. At that point,
That's not on you.
I ceased to be able to understand exactly what he was thinking there because the whole thought is like, well, we traded 2 all-league players. Okay, but one is 25 turning 26 and one is what, 31, 32?
Yep.
You know, and in the NBA that matters. So
For sure it does.
The thing that we'll just have to wait and see, and this is what I'm really curious about, is in the post-LeBron era, which may not happen for another 10 years. Who knows?
Right.
You know, like what is Pelinka going to put around Luka? That to me is the variable, because right now I do think LeBron and his tenacity is what's kind of a little bit of a smokescreen to kind of Luka's inefficiencies. And so what will happen kind of in a post-LeBron era, we'll just have to wait and see.
The only thing we know about that so far is it will not be Mark Williams because the Lakers failed him on his physical and sent him back to Charlotte.
Nope.
They had 40 points that night, I believe. Yeah.
Did not like what they saw.
All right. I think we've probably taken up enough of Father Pete's time. We usually try to keep him right around this window because he is a busy man. And so, Father Pete, I just say thank you. Thank you so much for being available to us whenever you got the time. And thank you so much for bringing it the way you do every time. That's why you're a Hall of Famer.
Hey, I'm grateful for you guys. Seriously, thanks for the opportunity.
Goodbye, Internet.
All right.